We finally got to see the beginning of the fight between Endeavor and this new Nomu, but before that happened we got to see something really interesting, which I'm gonna get into first, which is that we got to see a conversation between Shoto's two siblings and their mother, which is really interesting because for those who remember, of course, way back during the sports festival we got to find out exactly how Shoto Todoroki was treated as a kid by Endeavor, and his mother was also being fairly abused to say the least. Like their whole family was basically being punished for not being strong enough or whatever, you know. Endeavor, he was very obsessed with power at the time, and he still is to some extent, just not really the way he was back then, because now Todoroki, or Shoto should we say, he's kind of met Endeavor's expectations, which is kind of why Endeavor isn't being the way he was at the time, because well, Todoroki is already in UA, you know, he's trained to become a hero already, so I guess Endeavor doesn't really have to do all that much. But what I really want to get into is what they were talking about, which was interesting because Shoto's mother was being visited at the institution she's being at by Shoto's brother Natsu and his sister, whom I cannot remember the name of, but you'll know who I mean. It's the one that we've seen in the anime at one point as well, the one with like white hair and real small red prickles all over her hair. But what they were talking about was actually exactly what I just mentioned, how Endeavor treated his family way back when and how the world doesn't know about it. Now this is something that a lot of people have been speculating will be brought to light in this arc or very soon in the manga, seeing as Endeavor is trying to really build an image for himself, is trying to really make people like him, and if something like this gets out in the public, that's really gonna damage his reputation even more, which is something that I could actually see happening. Like I could actually see someone from Endeavor's family or someone who knows how Endeavor has been treating his family really leak this information just to damage Endeavor's reputation. Now I don't really know who would do that. Like I don't think Hawks or any other of the pro heroes know about it. I think it's gonna be someone that's really close to Endeavor's family who will actually be the one to leak it if that's gonna happen. Like one of Todoroki's brothers or sisters could actually be the one to do it. I don't think the mother will, seeing as firstly she's in an institution, meaning she's probably not going to be trusted by most people because she's gonna be looked at as someone who is not mentally stable and whatnot, you know, yada 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 basically. But Shoto's siblings, they're perfectly fine and healthy, you know, people are gonna trust them, especially if they go out and talk about Endeavor in such a way, because Endeavor happens to be their father as well, meaning that if they were to leak something about how Endeavor was treating their mother as well as how it led to the point where she's actually in the institution she's in, that's going to completely fuck Endeavor over on a huge scale. Like we're talking something huge here, like something that could potentially ruin his whole hero career, because people are never going to look at Endeavor the same way. Now whether that's gonna happen, I don't know, but it is something that's really being brought up in the series right now, which means that there's a good chance it's going to be important in terms of Endeavor's character in some way. Whether it's gonna be leaked or whether he's just gonna think back and, you know, try to change things. Maybe he will try to patch things up with his family, I don't know, but if he does, I hope it's gonna be done well, because it's just being built up in such an interesting way. First we have his conversation with All Might, how he wants to become the new symbol of peace. He asks All Might how he could possibly do that, and then he's kind of developing into this less obnoxious father in how he was treating Todoroki. Like at the end of the remedial course he also tells Todoroki he was proud of him, you know, he's trying to really make up for what he's done in the past. But now in this arc obviously we have his family saying that okay, he was treating us like this. I mean, they haven't really gone out with what's going down, of course, meaning that so far it's still just in the family, no one else really knows about it. But is that going to last? That's what I'm wondering. Okay, the next thing that I'm gonna talk about is of course the actual fight, or the current situation with Endeavor and Hawks, as well as the Nomu that they're fighting, because last chapter we saw the Nomu just burst into the window and Endeavor took it upon himself to fight him. He's gonna demonstrate what it is to be the #1 hero, you know, he needs to really show people that they're safe. He needs to really handle this situation in a way that, you know, maybe no one else at the scene possibly could. And being the #1 hero, you know, he didn't reach #1 for nothing. He's obviously deserved that spot, at least by sheer numbers. Like Hawk said in the past, you know, maybe not by approval ratings, but anything else, he's definitely worthy of being the #1 hero. Now while they're fighting, we can really see some interesting patterns. Like we find out that this Nomu is not really having the muscle fibers of muscular as some people were thinking. It's just a regenerative thing that he's been using throughout the fight. And obviously Endeavor points out that these black Nomus in particular seems to be the ones that have a regenerative ability, whereas some of the others, like the gray ones or white ones, whatever you want to call them, they don't really seem to have this power. So he's wondering whether that's just something that applies to every Nomu that has this black or dark blue color to them, you know, whether all of those Nomus are going to be able to regenerate. And this seems to apply to this one as well, because Endeavor's attacks didn't really seem to do much against this one. However, the difference with this Nomu is of course that they don't want to kill it because of the fact that it can talk. They want to capture it so that they can actually speak to it and find out more about it, you know, find out the information that may be important in getting closer to the League and whatever, you know, whatever they want to do with it. Because when you find yourself in a situation where a Nomu is so rare, you know, something that's never been seen before, a Nomu that can actually talk, it seems to have some level of intelligence unlike the previous ones. You really want to capture it rather than actually straight up killing it, because killing it would probably not be that difficult for Endeavor. We've seen him kill Nomus in the past. All you really had to do was destroy their head and make sure it couldn't regenerate, like he did with the blue flames during the arc when Stain appeared. And while he's actually fighting this Nomu, we can see Hawks being, yes, himself, you know, he's saving a lot of people like he was in the past, was helping out. But we really see a lot of new stuff from him, because we learned that his quirk is called Mighty Wings. His quirk name has been completely revealed now, and although it didn't really specify his drawback or anything in particular, it does say that he can manipulate his feathers individually, and a lot of people were speculating that this was going to be the case, but we can assume that his drawback does definitely have to do with some sort of limitations of his feathers, because of the fact that he did say he could run out of feathers, meaning that there is a limit to how many feathers he can produce and control at the same time, you know, at least if you want to keep flying as well. Because in one panel you could really see how Hawks' wings were looking like they were really disappearing in a way, because he was using so many feathers at the same time. So I'm really wondering, you know, is this going to be a problem depending on how many people they're gonna have end up saving? Because right now we've seen him save a lot of people in a very short amount of time. Like he was saving, I believe it was over 70 people in that building that was collapsing where Endeavor and the Nomu were fighting. So he was almost running out of feathers from just one building, meaning that if this Nomu can actually collapse more than one building at a time, that could really create some problems for Hawks. At least if he's gonna be the only one saving people, it's gonna create a challenge for him where he will actually need to go all out, and we're gonna see Hawks truly show us what it is that he is about. Because we do see him fight in this chapter as well. Like we saw him attack the Nomu just briefly, so he does definitely have some intention of fighting this Nomu as well, which I was kind of hoping. I was hoping this wouldn't simply be Endeavor versus one Nomu. I do hope we're gonna see more opponents though. Like I hope someone else from the League may appear or something, be it Dobby or someone else. You know, I wouldn't mind if it's actually Dobby, because we haven't seen Dobby in a long time, at least not Dobby getting, you know, good screen time. Because I mean, we did see him at the end of the overhaul arc, but he didn't really get good screen time in my opinion. It wasn't really enough to say that this is good Dobby moments. I want an actual good Dobby arc where Dobby's gonna be a very focused villain, if you know what I mean. Kind of like how Toga and Twice were very much focused during the overhaul arc, and how Toga was very prominent in the provisional hero license exam. I would like something similar with Dobby soon, because we need to see more of the League, to be honest, like some of the members that we haven't really seen before, at least not to the extent that we want to. So I really hope we get to see that soon. This arc would be a good opportunity because of the fact that we have Hawks and we have Endeavor, but we only have one opponent. Bringing in one more opponent doesn't sound like the worst idea if you ask me. It sounds like a great idea, but I don't know what Horikoshi has in mind. I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see exactly what it is that he wants to accomplish with this arc and what he wants to show us in terms of Endeavor's character, as well as showcasing Hawks, who is a very new character because he's supposedly the number 2 hero, and Horikoshi obviously wants to show us why he's the number 2 hero. What is it that makes him better than everyone else below him? Anyway, I'm gonna end the video here, so let me know what you think down below in the comments about the chapter. Like, did you like it? What do you think is gonna happen in regards to Endeavor and what his family has been talking about? You know, how they mentioned how he was treating his family in the past. Do you think it's gonna be brought to light? Do you think the public is gonna find out about it this arc already? Do let me know down below, and as always, if you did, be sure to Detroit smash that like button if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. This has been Chaotic Plus, and remember everybody, Toga is waifu, Toga is laifu.